Let's talk about coexistence. Now, it sounds like a good thing, right? But when we have legacy clients inside of our wireless network and we're trying to support our more modern protocols, we're going to suffer for it, right? There's a price to pay for supporting the elderly protocols in our environment. So let's say we have an 802.11g network. That's the plan. 802.11g means 54 megabits per second. It means OFDM. It means higher throughput and data rates. It means that we send out the header of our frame at a lower speed, a lower throughput speed than the body, right? Because of the modulation mechanism used within it. So all of that is true of G. However, those aren't true of B. B uses the same speed for the entire signal. 802.11b is 11 megabits per second. It uses DSSS. So what happens when we have access points that are going to use this legacy methodology? Well, when an 802.11b client is detected by our access point, we're going to move to one of a couple of methods of management of the traffic. One is to instigate the requirement of the request to send, clear to send protocols, where essentially whenever we want to send out a message, we have to say request to send. And then once the access point says clear to send, we're good to go. And that's true even if I have a G client. The G client will say request to send so that the B client can hear it. Now, why is that important? Because remember, normally our mechanism of CSMA-CA requires that I hear and listen and understand messages that are kind of flying by through the air. Well, I can't understand a G message because it's using OFDM instead of DSSS. That change in protocol means that I cannot interoperate with it directly. So I've got to hear its noise, and I will do that by having the request to send and clear to send. The B client will stand down the right amount of time, even though it can't actually understand the G message. It's actually going to go through that particular network. There's also something called clear to send to self. Clear to send to self is another method to provide protection instead of the request to send, clear to send method. And essentially, the client simply sends out a clear to send to itself. It doesn't involve the access point going through that whole process. Instead of it being two steps, it's just a one-step process. Just clear to send for this long, as if it was the regular message that it would send in a standard CSMA-CA environment. So anything that does not have this extended rate physical, or ERP, that 802.11g has, once that is recognized, essentially once a B client is recognized on the network, the access point is going to reduce functionality. And then that reduced functionality is going to propagate through the network. In other words, the other access points are going to recognize that. Now, although a G client is able to operate theoretically at G speeds. In other words, when the G client connects to the access point, it's going to be able to utilize its G speed for its data rate. The fact is, the B clients being on the network slow it down. They slow it down because their communication is slower. They slow it down because they're introducing all these protection mechanisms as a requirement for accurate traffic to be able to propagate through this network. So although you can support a B client in a BG compatible access point, the reality is, wow, 22 down to 8 megabits per second of effective throughput is probably not what you were looking for, right? We're looking at effective data throughput here. It's going to go way down. So you may well want to set your access point to only accept G clients, even though it'd be nice to be able to support backwards compatibility to B. If you don't plan on having B clients, if you can upgrade your B clients to G, it dramatically improves performance. Coexistence has a price.